one more time. Would you stand just one more? Next Sunday, we're going to ask you to bring a meal or a bucket of chicken or some barbecue, or if you'd just like to donate and have us pick up some fried chicken, then we can do that if you'd rather not cook. But we're going to ask you to bring enough food for you and your family and a little bit more. And I want you to stay. A lot of you, the last few times we've done this, I understand it's a hassle to stay, but a lot of our guests will stay. And we want to minister to our guests. So next Sunday after church, we're going to have a meal, and we're just going to fill the gym up, the hospitality room up, wherever we can, to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to fellowship and to eat with us. Also, the month of October, we're going to start in the month of October a 21-day fast for our church. We're going to ask someone every day to be on a complete fast, at least one day a week. Every one of us. I wish the whole church, we're going to ask the whole church to fast on Mondays. And then every day for those 21 days, somebody in here will be fasting. And we're going to ask everyone to give up something. If your addiction is Diet Coke, or leave this one here. No, you can take it back. If your addiction is Diet Coke, then maybe you could give that up for 21 days. Maybe you could give up television for 21 days. Maybe you could give up sweets. But I want you to complete fast, no water, food, or anything for at least 24 hours once a week. And then somebody be doing that for 21 days. Why are you doing that? It's not a gimmick. Daniel prayed, and God heard him the first day he prayed. And he dispatched Michael, the warring archangel, to come to Daniel's aid. And it was 21 days before Michael showed up at Daniel's side. And Daniel's like, why in the world has it taken so long? And he said, I heard you the first time that you prayed, but it took us 21 days to defeat the prince of Persia. I believe that there's a powerful force that would stop us from doing what we really want to do. And some things, this kind, only comes by prayer and fasting. And so the month of October, we're going to talk about it a lot. I'm going to preach today from my favorite book. I've preached out of it more than any books, perhaps except the book of Acts. It's my favorite book to preach out of, one of my least favorite books to read out of. And I'm going to ring some familiar tones and then bring some, maybe a little bit more light than even I've ever seen from the book of Job today. Preaching out of Job is a job. And they're both spelled the same way. And so I don't know who I'm preaching to today, but I feel like I'm preaching to somebody. And I know that small groups, how many of you had a great time in small group this morning? I heard there were folks in the hall just crying and worshiping and testifying. I want to talk to you, and I want you to think about it today. I want to appeal to your logic just for a little while. I want to use a story. One of the greatest men that ever lived. Job is the oldest book in the Bible. He's not as old as Abraham, but it was the oldest written book. Job most likely lived before Abraham, and Abraham was the richest man of the East in his time. Job was the richest man of the East during his time. And so I'm going to preach. We don't know when he lived. We just know he did live. We don't know. He lived before Abraham left Ur, and the patriarchs walked in the promised land. I don't know when he lived, but I do know that he went through some things that are familiar to many of us in here today. So if you would grant me the privilege for just a few minutes, I'm probably going to preach about 5 minutes longer than I usually do. And I'm still the shortest-winded preacher in town, but I got a lot to say, and I got a short time to get there. So buckle your seatbelts. Job chapter 1. How many of you are hot in here? How many of you are just right? How many of you are cold? So I got to take my jacket off. That's what that means. Job chapter 1, there was a man. Everybody say there was a man. In the land of Uz, whose name was Job. And that man was blameless and upright and one who feared God. If you were just to take the first verse of the book of Job, you're like, boy, this is going to be a great story. This is going to be a story of blessings. And here's a man whose name was Job, and he was blameless, and he was upright, and he feared God, and he shunned evil. He was also the richest man in his community. Go down to verse number 6. Now, there was a day. Everybody say, there was a day. Back to verse 1, it said, there was a man. Verse 6 says, there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came among them. That's a sermon for a different day. But there was a day. Now, down to verse number 13 of the first chapter. Now, there was a day when his sons and his daughters were eating and drinking wine in their oldest brother's house. Go down to chapter 2 and verse number 1. Again, there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came also among them to present himself before the Lord. And then down to chapter 3 and verse number 1. Job chapter 3 and verse number 1. After this, Job opened his mouth and cursed the day of his birth. What happened between chapter 1 and verse 1 and chapter 3 and verse 1 must have been very traumatic. Because we open up the book of Job and the sun was shining. The cash was flowing. The children were great. 2 chapters later, he cursed the day that he was born. What could cause a man to do that? Let's talk about it a little bit. God bless you. You're going to help me say amen? You may be seated. There is a rhythm. Job is called a book of poetry, and I had to look back and see where they got that, because it sure doesn't seem like poetry to me. But when you break down the Bible, it's called one of the books of poetry, like Psalms and Proverbs and Ecclesiastes and Song of Solomon. The fifth book of poetry in the Bible is the book of Job, but it was written with a rhythm. There was a man, there was a day, there was a day, there was a day, and after this. And if you study poetry, it's written in the prose of poetry. It was written by a poet. And we find between the first verse of the first chapter and the first verse of the third chapter, Job's world completely collapsed. You can read the whole story, but he lost his fortune. He lost everything. He lost his children. He lost his stock. Everything he had was gone except for his wife. And his wife asked him if he would curse God and die. And instead of cursing God, he cursed the day of his birth. And when you understand that just in a short period of time, your whole world collapses around you, then you've had a bad day or two. I don't know if you're having a bad day or not, but let me say this. You cannot understand a whole lot about a person, a whole lot about a man or a woman or a young person until you understand what kind of day it is in their life. Anybody in here ever had a good day? When you got married, was that a good day? When your children were born, was that a good day? I remember when I graduated high school, I thought I had accomplished everything. I threw my cap up in the air. That was a good day. Some of you are having a good day today. I thought about the kind of day it is, and I thought about the kind of crowd we'd have here this morning. And some of you are young, and when you're young, the options are limitless. That's the kind of day it is in your life. There are thousands of doors and thousands of dreams and just limitless opportunities. But as your days progress or as you age, those opportunities become less and less. And if I could be if I could have my father's wisdom and my children's age, boy, then I'd be dangerous. But as we progress in the morning of our life, when we're young and everything's new and everything's limitless and the dreams are bouncing around in our head, and then we reach the noonday of our life, and I'd like to think I'm still there. My wife asked me day before yesterday, she said, I don't even know if you can still call us middle-aged anymore. We may be old. But when you're strong and you've come through some things, and because you've come through some things and you've got some understanding, I'd have to say that I don't understand everything, but thank God I understand more than I did when I was 18 years old. Can I get a witness? I know you're 18 or you're 19 or you're 20 or you're 21 and you know everything, but you will unlearn some of the things that you know in just a short period of time. But you're still strong. I still feel strong. I still feel like Caleb. I thought about it. I still feel strong. I still feel like God is with me. And I've got a little bit more understanding than I had a few years ago, and thank God for that. But then as we progress from morning to noonday to the sunset of our life, and our strength is ebbing. We're not as strong as we used to be, but there are folks that would love to be in church today that just aren't physically able to be in church today, but their strength has ebbed somewhat, but wisdom has taken its place. And I sat around the table, and if I've got a problem in my life, it's very rare that I would call an 18-year-old to ask advice, or even a 30-year-old. But if I need advice, I'm probably going to call somebody north of 70, because maybe their strength isn't what it used to be, but their wisdom has increased and it's taken its place. And I don't know what day it is in your life, but I can say this because I've been there and so have you. One day can change everything. One phone call, you got the job. Or the phone call could be from the doctor and say, we didn't get a good report. One phone call, one day can change everything. Life can be going along and everything can be perfect like it was in the first verse of the book of Job. And then one day, it all began to fall apart. Some of you in this room are enjoying some of the very best days of your life. And some of you are experiencing some of the worst days of your life. Some of you are living in the sunshine and some of you are living in the darkness, and we're all in the same room together. I don't know what day it is for you, but I know the God of every day. And if we're going to grasp the importance of a day, we have got to realize there is a rhythm in life. And that rhythm, if you don't hear anything else I say, I'm going to preach for a little while, but if you don't hear anything else I say, if you're already getting sleepy, I want you to hear this. We must realize that life is not measured in years. Life is not measured in months. Life is not even measured in weeks. But we measure our life one day at a time. Scholars say, and I don't know if I agree with them or not, but they say that the book of Job covers just a few days. Just a few days of Job's life. Just a few days of a man's life that lived over 200 years. If you would have met him before or after, you would have never known. But it's all about what day it is in your life. There was a day, there was a day, there was a day. When Job tells us, what Job tells us is that serving God is not about your whole lifetime or months or years. But getting up every morning, getting up every day, and regardless of what kind of day it is, somebody needs to hear me this morning, or what that day holds. Today, this day, I'm going to live for God. This day, I'm going to make it count. This day, I'm going to give it my very best. This day, I will not lose. I refuse to quit. This day, I will win. Whatever we do for God, we have to do it today, because we don't have yesterday and we're not promised tomorrow. But whatever we do, we've got to do it today. We can't relive the past and we can't gain the tomorrow. But I do have today And I will do something today. I will make my day count. Today is the day. Not yesterday was the day, or tomorrow will be the day, but today is the day that the Lord has made, and I will rejoice. Not yesterday, not tomorrow, but I will rejoice today, no matter what kind of day it is. And it's somewhat of a comfort to realize that I don't have to live for God a year from now. And maybe I didn't live for God when I was younger. I don't have to live for God a month from now. I don't have to live for God a week from now. But I am called to be responsible. I do have to live for Him today. I'm asking for some faithful believers. Is there anybody in the house that thinks you can make it today? If you think you can live for God today, say amen real loud. Woo! I can't live for Him yesterday, and I can't live for Him tomorrow. But what I do have to do is just get up today and win today and meet the devil today. Some of you are going to meet the devil, but you can make it through the day. Some of you are going to meet him today, but you can make it through the day. Well, he may wear me out over a year or two or a week or two or a month. I don't care about tomorrow. I don't care about a week or a month or a year. I'm just going to make it through today. I'm going to win today. And when this day is over, let me tell you how to win in life. If this day ends, or when this day ends today, if you can put your head on your pillow and say, hey, today I won. Today I was thankful again. Today I hung on again. Today I didn't give in to temptation again. Today I won. I plan on everybody in this room that hears this message today say, I'm going to lay my head on a pillow and go, yeah, I won today. Got any winners in the house? You know you can make it today. So regardless of what day it is a day worth living. It is a day that you can conquer. It is a day that matters. Every day matters because it's all you got. And this is our day. Joan said it in our devotion this morning. This is our day. This day really matters. And can I say something that may blow your mind? I think today may matter more than days 2,000 years ago because the close God compresses time. I will listen to the most pitiful football game in the history of the world yesterday. Did anybody listen or watch that with me? They were talking about the red zone. They're talking about how compressed it gets in the red zone. And that many quarterbacks would rather back up and throw from the 30 or the 40 than inside the 20 because there's not enough room for the receivers to maneuver. Time has been compressed. We're in the red zone of eternity. And things are different now than they've ever been. This day really matters. You can't afford to blow it today. Elbow somebody and say, this day matters. You did not get to pick your day, but this is your day. And so whatever you're going to do, you better do it today. You're going to invite somebody to church, you better do it today. You're going to be a blessing to somebody, you better do it today. I refuse. I need somebody to say amen if they agree with what I'm about to say. I refuse to curl up and feel sorry for myself and be overwhelmed by my circumstances and let this day go by and not accomplish anything for the kingdom of God. Can I get a witness in the house of the Lord? I'm going to decide right now that the rest of this day set a timer. The rest of this day, I will not be overwhelmed by my circumstances because I may not be able to eat that whole elephant, but I can take a bite out of him today. Amen. So I'm going to win today. And tomorrow, guess what? I'm going to wake up, and that elephant's going to be one bite less than he was yesterday. Man, I refuse to be a victim of my day. But I choose, and would you choose with me? I choose to have victory today. I'm going to be a winner today. I'm going to conquer today. I'm going to overcome today. I'm going to do something for God today. I'm going to preach it today. I'm going to sing it today. I'm going to love it today because this is our day. Every day, even the worst days, have potential. It can be great. It can be horrible. Anybody ever had any horrible days? Sun can be shining or it can be beautiful like it. Didn't you wake up this morning and walk outside? You deer hunters, your trigger finger started itching. Yeah, just so good. But whether it's raining or whether the sun's shining or whether it's hot or whether it's cold, I choose my reaction. I was getting on to my wife for being negative the other day, which I'm really good at getting on to somebody else for being negative, and then she caught me being negative. And I'm like, well, I can sure dish it out, but it sure is hard to take. That's good preaching. It doesn't matter what's going on, whether it's the weather in your life or the weather outside. There's a difference. Weather is what's going on from day to day. Some days it's raining, sometimes the sun's shining, some days it's storming, some days it's not. But the climate of your life is what God's interested in. He's not interested in what's going on. Like, he's interested in the climate of your life. And I want the climate of my life to be headed towards heaven, don't you? I'm going to decide. I am not going to let my enemy decide. I am going to make a decision as to how I react to the circumstances that I'm faced with today. It's easy for me to say I don't feel bad. I'm not in the hospital. We got a 46-year-old young man in the hospital, and his heart's just bad. Chris is in the hospital today, and his heart's bad, and we're going to go see him today. But it's a little easier for me to say it than it is for Chris. It's a lot easier for me to say this is a good day. I'm gonna decide how I'm going to react. But I have been in that situation where I didn't know if I was going to live through the day or not, and I had to react to my circumstances. I'm preaching to somebody. There are two things that fill our days. The Bible says there's enough evil for the day. There's sufficient evil for your day. There's always something to get you down. There's always something to depress you. There's always something in every day to make you want to quit. Every day. And if that's what you dwell on, it will destroy you. And you won't make it through. I'm not talking about making it. I'm not talking about being here next Sunday. I'm not talking about being here tomorrow. I'm talking about making it through today. I'm talking about putting your head on the pillow and say, hey, I made it today. That's all we got to do. But if you dwell on the negatives in your life and you dwell on the circumstances that depress you and make you want to quit, then it will destroy your day. But Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. He's bigger than any day. Greater is he that's in you than he that's in the world. He was God before there were days, and he'll be God when there are no more days. So there may be enough evil to get me down today, but if I'll concentrate on the thing I ought to be concentrating on, my day can be good no matter what the circumstances of my day are. He's bigger than my worst days, brighter than my darkest day, and he's able to see me through any day, no matter what day it is. And so my day is my choice. And I'm so glad that my God specializes in taking bad days and making good days out of them. As a matter of fact, I can look back. It's easy to look back, and I can look back and say some of my worst days in the light of my entire life have become good things. Some of the worst things that ever happened to me, God turned them around. You meant it to me for evil, and I thought it was a bad day, but it really was a good day. I look back on it, and I say, thank God for that horrible day. Anybody ever done that? In fact, God does his best work on my worst days. Paul said some crazy stuff. You want to hear some crazy stuff? If you're about to fall asleep, wake up. Paul said, I rejoice in my infirmities. He said, I'm happy I'm sick. I never heard anybody say that. He said, I rejoice. I glory in tribulation. I'm happy I'm sick, and I'm glad they're picking on me. Why did he say that? Because he understood what God was trying to do in his life. We live short of the understanding of what God's trying to do. We live thinking that, hey, God's not involved in every intimate detail of our life. We live thinking that we're controlling, but God's trying to do something with you and through you. And I said it this morning in our leadership. God can't do what he wants to do in our community unless we do it for him. We are his hands. We are his feet. We are what he's going to use. This has got to be a good day no matter what the circumstances are trying to dictate to you. He's bigger than your worst day, and he's special. In fact, God really wants to do some good. How can that be? Is this guy nuts? Paul, what are you trying to say? I want good days. I want sunshine. I don't want infirmity. I don't want a tribulation. But what Paul is saying is my worst days are my best days, because that's when I find the greatest fulfillment in my life. Before you can experience great pleasure, I read a book written by a pastor for 40 years, who's also a psychologist. And then he said, before you can ever experience great pleasure, you must first experience great pain. Because until you've experienced great pain, you don't even understand what great pleasure is. So on my worst days, it's when we find our greatest fulfillment. How? Why? I think that's why Paul said, when I'm weak, then I'm strong. When I can't, that's when he can. As long as I hold on to things, then things get worse. But when things get so bad that I can no longer fix them, that I can no longer control them, when it's bad enough that I can't hold on to it any longer, then God turns my captivity. That's why God does his best work on my worst days. When you want to fix it, we want to fix it. We think we can fix it. But when we finally just sit down and let God, then God starts fixing. God's trying to fix something for somebody in here today. I don't learn too much, and I don't even know if that's good English, but it's the way I was raised. So I'm from Haskell. I don't learn a whole lot on my bad days. As a matter of fact, I probably learn a little bit of the wrong stuff. I get a little bit arrogant. I get a little bit conceited. I get a little bit self-centered. On my good days, I don't seem, but on the bad days is when I see his glory, when I feel his presence, when I understand he's trying to do something with me. Can I preach for just a couple more minutes? Think about Jacob for a minute. Let's think about Jacob, the worst day of his life. Esau's coming to kill him, his brother. Not only is Esau going to kill him, he's going to kill all his children, his wives and his children. He tries to fix it. He sends out little gifts to his brother. That didn't work, so finally he decided that he would divide his family into groups and split them up so maybe it would deceive his brother, and that didn't work either. So when none of that worked, what did he do? For the first time in his life, on the worst day of his life, was the first time he had ever faced who he really was. First time he had ever dealt with Jacob. When nothing worked, when he couldn't fix it, he crossed that brook, Jabbok. He crossed that brook alone. He got down on his face before his maker. And he said, God, I've got no way to fix it. I'm turning it over to you. And that was the first time that a 40-year-old man in his whole life had ever said that. He had had experiences with God his whole life. God had been trying to talk to him since he was a little boy. But for the first time on his very worst day, he got down on his face and said, God, I cannot fix this. And so I'm turning it over to you. And a big old hand came down on his shoulder, and he thought, oh no, Esau's found me. He jerked and he turned around. But then he realized it was God's hand. And when he saw God's hand on his shoulder, he latched on. He said, I've gone as far as I can go. I've tried to fix this every way I know how to fix it. And the angel of the Lord, of the theophany of God himself, said, hey, you're going to have to let go of me. And Jacob said, oh no. I didn't cross this brook by myself. I'm going to hang on. I'm not going to let go until you give me a new day. I'm not going to let go until you change my day. The sun is coming up. You got to let me go. And he said, what did the angel say to him? He said, what is your name? When he latched on the angel and he began to hang on, he said, the angel asked Jacob, he said, what is your name? And it's easy for us to say our name because there's not my mother named me my name because that's my daddy's name. And I named my kids what their name because I liked the way it sounded, or I read it in a book somewhere. But those boys, they were named, their names had meaning. And when that angel said, what is your name? He said, my name is Jacob. You know what that word means? You know what Jacob means? Let me read you the definition. He looked at that, and for the first time, he said, my name is he who takes what rightfully belongs to another. He said, I'm a thief. I'm a loser. I stole my birthright from my brother. I stole cattle from my father-in-law. I'm a thief. I am he who takes what rightfully belongs to another. I have by my own tact and my own wit and my own thievery and conniving, I've become wealthy. But now I've met a man that's my brother, the first person I stole from. My chickens have come home to roost and I have to face Esau. But I'm not going to let go until you bless me, no matter what my name is. And you know what that angel said? Hey, from today, your name will no longer be he who takes what rightfully belongs to another. But from now on, you will be called a prince who has power with God. Because today you found power. Because today your worst day became your best day. Well, that's good preaching. I said, you find God's power on your worst days. And God touched him in the hollow of his thigh as a sign. And for the rest of his life, Jacob limped. So what did he do? He went limping back across that creek. Sun's coming up. He wasn't looking around with fear. He wasn't looking around and saying, where's Esau? He wouldn't hiding. I met him. I've touched him. I've wrestled with him. He didn't talk about Esau. He had an encounter that changed him. If fear is gripping you, you need an encounter. You need to face who you are. You need to fall on your face and ask God. We all need to fall on our face and ask God to help us. So if I'm going to have to live some bad days, and we are, we might as well get some power. We might as well see some glory. We might as well get a new name. We may as well win. That's why Paul said, I glory in my infirmities. Because God loves to take bad days and turn them into good days. Back to Job. You read it, first 20 verses. He's completely devastated. All his sheep, all his cattle, all his barns, his 7 sons and 3 daughters. There are those of you in here that have lost children, and that's unnatural. The barns can be replaced, the cattle can be purchased, but 7 sons and 3 daughters. Oh, my heart hurts. All your children. When the messenger came and said, your babies are all dead, Job cursed the day. Been better if I had not been born. He had some great days. He had made some unbelievable business deals. He had been at 10 births and had 10 babies laid in his arms. Man, he had some great days. He had respect. He had 10 children. He had riches. I mean, what's better than that? His wife probably wasn't bad looking. He drove a nice car. I mean, he'd had some good days. But now, what did he say? He said, every good thing that's ever happened to me, it ain't worth it. And the devil's telling you that, right? Somebody in here, he's wearing you out right now. He cursed his day, but then it got worse. His health. He started to get sick. Unbelievable sickness. Unbelievable pain and affliction. And then his 3 best friends showed up and said, Job, it's all your fault. You killed your kids. The reason your kids are dead is because you did something. You're hiding something. God doesn't do this to people who serve him. Come on, somebody. God's people don't have financial difficulties. God's people don't have trouble with their kids. Oh, yeah, they do. But what really takes your breath away about Job is it really wasn't his fault. He really didn't do anything to cause this. He was perfect and upright. He shunned evil. And a few days later, he had nothing left. And you know what he did? He pointed his finger at God. You read it. It's a powerful scripture. He said, God, you come down here. You got some explaining to do. There's been some mistake. I've served you. I've lived for you. I don't have any secrets. I've done what you've asked me to do. I want my day in court. I want to make my case known. I want to prove my case. I do not deserve this. And you think about God's reaction, you think God would have been offended by that, but God wasn't offended by that. That's really what God was wanting to hear. God's wanting you to challenge him. And Job challenged God. And God was, you know what God did? The Bible said he jumped on a whirlwind. And he sat down with Job and his 3 friends, and he said, here I am, Job. And you know what he said? He didn't answer Job's question. He didn't listen to that. He didn't try to go into it with all the problems. You know, Satan came with the sons of men and all this kind of stuff and said, have you considered my servant Job? He didn't tell him any of that story. He didn't try to address his particular situation. He looked at the big picture, and I'm asking somebody to listen to me right now. Here's the big picture. What did God say when he sat down with Job and his 3 friends? What did God say? He didn't say, Job, I'm sorry this happened to you. He said, where were you when I flung the stars into existence? Where were you when I spun the earth on its axis? Where were you when I set time in motion? Where were you when I cast Leviathan from my fingertips? Where were you when I scooped the seas and formed the mountains with the palm of my hand? Where were you, Job? What's he saying? He said, Job, there are some things that you'll never understand. You know what Job said at the end of that discourse? Though he slay me, yet will I serve him. I love you. I trust you. I don't know why I had to live this day. It sure seems unfair to me. But I love you. And I trust you. Don't know why divorce came. Don't know why death came. Don't know why bankruptcy. Don't know why the doctor had to say what he had to say. So Job got up when the Lord pointed his finger back to him and said, where were you? Job got up, boils still on his body. Children still lying in the wreckage. Limped over to where God was. And on the worst day of his life, the Bible said he fell on his face and worshiped. When he didn't understand, when it wasn't fair, when nothing made sense, he still worshiped God. And the Bible didn't say he made a new day, but the Bible said he turned the captivity of Job. He took his bad day and turned it into something entirely different. Sometimes we're held captive in our minds by things, by something, and it taints every thought and every action. And we do our job and we go through the motion, but we're still tormented. God doesn't expect you to live that way. He's going to turn it around. And when it was all over, he had twice as many sheep, twice as many cows, twice as many donkeys. And you can say what you want to say, but I've read it more than you have. And I don't believe that he got 10 new kids. I believe the 10 kids got up, that God raised those 10 kids from the dead, and he went to be with those same 10 kids again. His worst day, can you imagine at the end of that day, he was saying, hey, you won't believe what it was like this morning. Here's my babies. I'm hugging my baby. And his worst day became his best day. What did God say though? And I got to say this. It's a whole different sermon, and I can't help it. I got to do it. I preached 15 minutes longer than I should have, but God said, if you pray for your friends, I'll forgive them. Because if you got friends like that, honey, you don't need any enemies. I mean, those were some rough friends. And if you pray for them, I'll forgive them. And if you pray for them, they won't have to pay for what they've done to you. Pray. Worship, yeah, I'll worship. I mean, you're the one that created the universe. You're the one that flung the stars. You scooped out the seas and you formed them out. I'll worship you, but pray for those jokers? I don't think so. What if I don't pray for them? When you're down and people are talking about you and the people that you thought were your friends are kicking you around like trash, before you're ever going to be completely restored, before you're ever going to completely be blessed, like God wants you to be blessed, somebody needs to hear me, you're going to have to pray for your friends. And the Lord turned the captivity of Job, and I quote from the King James Version, when he prayed for his friends. You got to let go. And guess what? The scripture said. And Job, and after this, lived Job 140 years. And he saw his sons and his sons' sons to the fourth generation. He saw his great, great, great grandchildren. After his bad day. You cannot let one day color the rest of your life. So Job died, being old and full of years. Let's stand together. Yesterday, I spent the day with my boys. I had several things that were important I needed to do. I had hospital visits I needed to be at. I had weddings I needed to attend. I had anniversary celebrations that I needed to attend. But I had two boys I hadn't spent any time with in a long time. And I know some folks are mad at me today, but I had a great day. I just spent it with my kids. We went down in the bottoms, and they acted stupid, and I enjoyed it. I fell in mud, and they laughed till they cried. They're still laughing right now just talking about it. But I want to tell you something. It ain't always been like that with my boys. There's been days I didn't know if my boys were going to make it. There have been days when my oldest boy wasn't here in church, and his daddy would cry in the office and try to come out here and preach because I hadn't seen him in months. Some of you going through it with your kids, but you got a lot more days. You got a lot more days. The enemy's trying to take your circumstances of today and torment you. But you got a lot more days. It begins now. I'm preaching to somebody right now. You cannot begin with yesterday, and you cannot begin tomorrow. But you can limp back across that creek today, and you can see the Lord today, and you can win today, and you can have a lot more good days. If you're having a good day, I'm probably not preaching to you. If things are going good, paychecks are good, kids are good, you probably just enjoyed being here. But would you bow your head with me just for a moment? Every closed eye, please. If you're having a bad day, I want you to lift your hand. Yeah. Rejoice not against me, O my enemy. When I fall, I shall arise. When I sit in darkness, the Lord will be a light to me. Amen. I'm going to ask you on this day. I don't want to call you out because that would make a bad day worse. But I'm going to ask you to do what Job did. He limped over. I asked you to do what Jacob did when Esau was about to kill him. He just worshiped. Is there a worshiper in the house today? Maybe you didn't raise your hand, but you really felt like you should. Why don't you worship today? Can we fill the house with worship? Amazing grace. Come on, there's got to be a worship in the house. How sweet. You're worthy. I'm not worthy. I don't understand and it don't seem fair. A wretch like me. It just hadn't been fair. It hadn't been right. Should have been different. Well, I don't know what I did to cause it, but now I am found. Was blind, but now but I'm going to see God. I'm going to worship. This is the day that the Lord hath made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. And it doesn't matter what the enemy has done to me, what hedge has been lowered. I'm going to rejoice. I'm going to worship. I refuse to feel sorry for myself today. I think I'll worship today.
When we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun, we know less days to sing your praise than when we first begun. Hallelujah, grace like rain falls down on me. Hallelujah, all my sins washed away. Hallelujah, grace like rain falls down on me. Hallelujah, all my stains. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. I was blind, but now I see.
He's worthy. Come on.
Hallelujah, grace like rain falls down on me. Hallelujah, all my stains washed away. Hallelujah, grace like rain falls down on me. Hallelujah, all my stains. Hallelujah,
If you get up and you still got boils on your body and your children are still lying in the wreckage and it feels like it's the worst day of your life, then it's the best time to worship. I watch young people get attacked with that demon of depression. And I've watched our society, in the 25 years that I've pastored, I've watched depression become the most devastating force that the enemy uses against us. It attacks our mind with circumstances and drags us back into the pit over and over again. And I don't know all the solutions, and I don't know all the medical terminology, but I do know this, that there's only one force in the universe that'll break the chains of depression, and that's worship. God cannot do it for you. Your worship will break those chains. And so when that enemy comes around you and there's so much pressure on you that you can't kneel down, you can't stand up, that from every direction, from the side, from the top, from below, every direction you feel that oppression and that depression. If you can just move your lips and say, I love you, Jesus. I don't know why I had to go through this day, But when this demon of depression and oppression comes against me, I'm going to worship you on this day. I'm going to limp over to where you are, and I'm going to get on my face, and I'm going to worship. It's the only answer. The doctors don't have the answer. Psychologists don't have the answer. Preachers don't have the answer. Worship is the only way. And so I'm going to worship my way through my problem. I'm going to praise my way through my depression. I'm going to give him glory on my dark days. And I believe that captivity that we call depression can be broken today in somebody's life. I believe it with all my heart. So I want to sing one more time, and we normally dismiss because I'm conscious of your time. But could you just hang around and let's worship for a little bit? Just for a little bit, let's worship together.
Grace like rain falls down on me. Hallelujah, all my stains washed away. Hallelujah, grace like rain falls down on me. Hallelujah, all my stains. Hallelujah, grace like rain falls down on me. Hallelujah, all my sins washed away. Hallelujah, grace like rain falls down on me.
Just another sing this old song again as we leave this place today. And if you just need somebody, and we haven't really asked like we did last, but if you need somebody to, if I pray with Sean, then what I'm doing is, it's not that I'm powerful, but it's that we're combining our faith together. And if you need prayer, if you need somebody just to combine their faith with your, as we sing this old song, maybe right in here, if you could just come, we'll have some men of faith anoint you, combine their faith with your faith, and let's see if we can break some chains just for another minute or so. If you need prayer, I know we got some young people over here that need prayer, but if you need prayer, I want you to come right here and let's just pray with you. I prayed, I worship today, Pastor, but I still feel like I need to break the chain. You come on. We'll anoint you. There's no shame in that. We'll anoint you, and we're going to combine our faith with your faith. I believe God can break some chains today. Amen. Amen. Here comes somebody. Let's sing it.